Let us execute an immediate, sweeping analytical vector shift away from multidisciplinary academic verification, weaponized accuracy deployment loops, and the fact-checking compilations of speculative writing references, and plunge straight into the high-octane, calculation-heavy tracking grids of localized wilderness containment, weaponized otherworldly cosmic loops, and the fiercely protective, dangerously fragile world of an endangered collection of stranded travelers running a raw tactical survival loop. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored, paranoia-slicked parameters of a scorched, desolate Danube river delta, exploring the lethal analytical parameters of a devastating, multidimensional environmental extraction matrix with the Willows, the exceptional, pulse-pounding supernatural psychological suspense thriller masterpiece engineered by the absolute undisputed global sovereign of breathtaking atmospheric secrets, razor-sharp existential traps, and high-velocity environmental friction, Algernon Blackwood. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroads where an endangered primary canoeing asset network running an unyielding truth extraction loop, a calculating manipulative shadow network of cosmic entity enforcers running an elite proximity tracking and standard sanity erasure routine, and an absolute defense against an encroaching extra-dimensional intellectual containment zone collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid. If you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn psychological journeys where endangered, hyper-observant survival protagonists must navigate an absolute maze of rigged topological documentation, corrupt multidimensional geography blueprints, and a deadly ring of active personal sanity destruction frame-ups while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised river ecosystem, where an analytical mind uses deep behavioral profiling, calculated tent site boundaries, and absolute emotional stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory executioner asset, weaponizing highly advanced environmental horror mechanics, and where the author utilizes an incandescent, meticulously paced cosmic indoctrination thriller tracking two elite river explorers who forge a desperate alliance to navigate the Danube, only to expose a vicious, eons-old extra-dimensional conspiracy to harvest human souls diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural limits. This book is engineered to lock you in. The text completely dominates the high-precision environmental jeopardy meets suffocating identity erasure puzzles dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating campsite paranoia, and heavy deductive depth popularized by genrevars like H.P. Lovecraft, Arthur Machen, Lord Dunsany, and M.R. James, while treating realistic canoe-handling logistics, complex dark possessive loyalty arcs, and protective high-density isolation extraction grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile, calculation-heavy baseline of our central legendary powerhouse protection assets, the Hyper-Vigilant, calculation-heavy primary operator asset, running an active emotional defense grid, and the dual-operator tactical node of the Swede, a fiercely protective, highly intuitive asset, operating under a severe handicap of rapid psychological deterioration. Behind our protagonists' rigorous environmental footprints, defensive conversational shields, and sharp observation metrics lies an intricate matrix of hidden structural vulnerabilities, deeply buried isolation trauma, and sharp, high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Their collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight following an abrupt geographical isolation sequence, their entire analytical focus strictly consumed by monitoring sudden threat vectors from an encroaching elite supernatural predation and internal panic threat network, parsing complex behavioral shifts in their daily local island interaction loops, and shielding their vulnerable personal sovereignty nodes from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless otherworldly cleanup offensive. The spark ignites when an unexpected high-frequency structural anomaly breaches their active scanning perimeter. After accepting their shared geographical confinement across the text-sacred opening movements, our primary asset network registers a total security breach when the island's psychological onboarding sequence initializes an irregular descent into active terraforming logs, mapping an identical calculation-heavy hum and rhythmic vibration signature used across multiple extra-dimensional territorial expansions. Behind the river delta's pristine, smooth natural facade and elite behavioral mapping style lies an intricate matrix of severe ideological warfare and a cold, calculation-heavy target containment blueprint. As the hostile adversarial investigation phases enter an increasingly lethal terminal tier across a ticking clock timeline, the unauthorized discovery of missing landscape proportions, hidden entity motivations, and matching kinetic scraping patterns on their canoe boat hull reveals that their entire wilderness sanctuary was an exquisitely engineered trap. The standard boundaries of routine natural courtesy and peaceful civilian compliance protocols crumble, and our central protagonists run completely out of standard diplomatic escape vectors. They are thrust directly into an active war behind closed tent flaps and thick brush lines, where a highly manipulative psychological gaslighting matrix launches aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress their survival data stream and execute their complete systemic erasure. The tactical parameters instantly explode as their historical and survival warfare turns completely active, transforming the large swamp clearings, dark subterranean route networks, and private fortified tent interiors into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Our protective, hyper-vigilant heroes are forced to deploy their massive intuitive tradecraft, elite behavioral mapping skills, and raw physical stamina to preserve their focus before their adversaries' relentless calculation-heavy proximity containment phase permanently deletes their boundaries. The threat vector remains purposeful and resolute, shifting dynamically through precise analytical movements covering auditory anomalies, shadow shapes, topological manipulation, and spiritual eraser loops, determined to deploy deep sensory manipulation loops, continuous psychological gaslighting by rigged landscape shifts, and persistent dominance to shatter their defense, only to realize their hardened survival protocols and shifting counter-narratives match their opponent's raw tactical speed step for step. Every midnight archival excavation of surrounding terrain alterations, every silent choice to stand off against an encroaching apex predator behind standard structural barriers, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at their reliance on original beastwood rules. What follows is an exceptional, high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the Predator Network's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as Algernon Blackwood reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial spatial ambush or managing an invasive friendship disclosure. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of individual dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of cosmic manipulation and primal supremacy. While our central characters smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fiercely protective, absolute web of dark possessive loyalty around their building survival alliance, a brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes evidentiary breakthroughs shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that deep-seated obsession has tracked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending locked grid trap and permanently secure their sanctuary, our resilient protagonists must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of her final boundary lines. It is a cosmic horror suspense, environmental captivity noir, wilderness mystery, high-velocity contemporary puzzle masterpiece that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one unsubverted Willow movement triggers a fatal dimensional showdown energy, where a sudden pause during an active franchise tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes standoff confrontation, or a heavy possessive realization that an elite intelligence operative has completely mapped your personal coordinates carries massive structural weight. Blackwood writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, perfectly capturing the heavy, oppressive smear of a private executive vault before a major corporate takeover, and the distinct subtle scent of polished mahogany, wet river silt, rotting vegetation, cold morning fog, dark adrenaline, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this contemporary franchise installment marvel into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes relationship dynamics and genuine protective power tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable, superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the chaotic modern corporate and high society underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute, jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total, hard-earned advancement to their horizon. The Willows is the definitive pro-level upgrade your high-stakes contemporary thriller and intense asset suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unput-outable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell alongside your network to rewrite the data. So secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the